And welcome back to PuckHeads Insider Report. My name is Ed Combs here in South Florida. My co-host, Peter South, up in Windsor, Ontario. We are ready to rock and roll you on another episode. How you doing, Peter?
I'm doing well tonight, Ed. How about yourself?
Oh, living the dream here in South Florida, brother. Living the dream. A little bit of a hurricane kind of blew through and blew out pretty quick, but we're no worse for wear here.
That's good. We're enjoying 70-plus degree weather here, and kind of
70
odd
degrees in Canada and in November.
Who knew?
Yeah,
who knew? Gotta love the global warming.
Oh, right. Yeah, you won't be saying much of that in a month.
No, well, I know people in Edmonton who are getting a foot of snow, so
right now, okay, there
good place for it though.
Right. All right, we're gonna do a show today on a couple of things, including the Ottawa Senators, their AHL and ECHL affiliates. We're going to talk about ownership, management, different levels with the Ottawa Senators, where they might be going, and some sad news to report out of the NHL as well later on in our show. So, Peter, we're going to get started with obstacles, different things that is facing Ottawa, the problems they're looking at, trying to move forward. Fill me in on what's going on with the GM, with the ownership. Wasn't there partners here at one point?
No, the owner's been there for a while now, but I mean, the thing is, if you think about the Ottawa Senators, back in the spring of 2017, they were one goal away from going to the Stanley Cup Finals. This year, they were the worst team in the NHL, albeit for the Detroit Red Wings. That's come from a lot of house cleaning that I think has been done more for financial reasons than anything else. Off the ice, the team is in a kind of a huge disarray. The owner, Eugene Melnyk, is not a fan of the fans. There's been billboards erected around Ottawa saying get rid of Melnyk and stuff like that. There is another issue that the Senators have to face is the fact that their arena is out in the suburbs of Ottawa, and the attendance has been dropping like crazy for the last 5 years. And it even dropped over 1,800 a game from, last year to the year before, which is quite significant. They've covered over sections of their seats, kind of made it look more like a minor league organization than a NHL team.
Please correct me if I'm wrong. Were they not talking about a new stadium in Ottawa at one point?
Oh, yeah. They were planning a new arena. Eugene Melnyk, along with another group, the Trinity Group, were planning an arena, what's called the LeBreton Flats in Ottawa. And unfortunately, that whole deal went south with both parties ended up suing each other, and that's in the courts right now. So there's no new stadium in sight at all for the Senators. There's been a lot of talk and rumors and innuendo about, possibly if the Senators, and Melnyk hinted at it himself, if their attendance doesn't pick up, they may pack up in Ottawa and move. I mean, Quebec City is always a city looking for a new franchise. And of course, there's Houston is another destination that's been talked about. It's a tough situation that has been handled extremely well by the GM Pierre Dorian. And like I said, though, he's had to deal with kind of a fire sale. I mean, the Senators themselves, they do have a lot of young, exciting players that they've just drafted and have been drafted, but they are nowhere near being able to be considered a contender right now.
What do we see with the threat of the move? Is that a threat? Is it something that they could actually do? Because I know Quebec City's, they've wanted a team since before Vegas, since before Seattle, and one of the things stopping them, is it not the overload of teams already in the East?
Well, it's that and there's also the issue with the Canadian dollar. I mean, it fluctuates so much, and it makes it tough. And that's one of the reasons why the Nordique left to become the Colorado Avalanche a number of years ago, is the financial aspect. I mean, I know the NHL has a program in place for the smaller market Canadian teams who are battling with some financial help from the rest of the teams, but I'm sure that's kind of a last thing the Gary Bettman and the crew at the NHL head office want to do is move the team from Ottawa to Quebec. I think it'd be look more at a lateral move. If the team moves, which again, the NHL is big at trying to not move franchises, they would be happier to try to find new ownership. But Melnyk seems to have no interest in selling the team at all. So it is going to be interesting to see how this plays out over the next few seasons.
Yeah, it is very obvious the NHL does not want teams to move. A case in point, the Arizona Coyotes. They're doing everything in their power to keep that team in Arizona. I'm sure they're going to want to keep them in Ottawa. The fans are going to want them to be in Ottawa. They just got to get their heads out of their behinds and figure out how to do it.
Ottawa definitely has the fan support. There is a strong fan base in Ottawa, and they have shown they can fill the building. But the trouble is, again, the building is out in the suburbs. A lot of people don't want to travel, and a lot of people right now, with the players that they've lost over the past few years, look at the Senators as a glorified American Hockey League team.
Well, that's not good. Well, let's talk about some of the good things for the Senators. Some of their draft picks recently, including 3 number ones this past draft. Who do you see being their best of the 3 so far? I mean, you know, Thomas Chabot, is he not playing lights out?
Oh, absolutely. Thomas Chabot is a high-end defenseman who will definitely be in consideration for the Norris Trophy in a very short time. He's definitely a player who makes a difference with that team. There's no doubt.
Yeah, he was an 18th overall pick in 2015. Let's jump into the 3 number ones of 2020, starting with Tim Stützle.
Well, I mean, the nice thing, and I give, again, Pierre Dorian lots of credit here, the 3 in the first round all bring different aspects to the game for the Senators. Tim Stützle he's a tremendous skater. He's a difference maker. He creates open space for himself. He's going to obviously need a little time to adjust to the NHL game, being playing in Germany and that. But I think he'll definitely make an impact. There were a lot of teams who had him ranked up even higher than Quentin Byfield, who went number 2. There was a lot of teams who definitely were hoping he was going to drop a little further, but he didn't. Jake Sanderson is a player who I got to see quite a bit. His dad is former NHLer Jeff Sanderson. And as tremendous as a skater as Jeff Sanderson was, Jake is even better. Every time I saw Jake play defense, he reminded me of Paul Coffey. He skated like he was a half inch off the ice, just floating through the ice. Great acceleration when he needed it. Wasn't afraid to join the offense, but he also had the speed to get back and make the plays defensively. And he's going to be a tremendous asset for that blue line. When he gets there, we don't know. It could be a couple years away. We know defensemen take a little bit longer to develop. Depends how long, he's going to school, what he wants to do there, but we'll see. Their third pick.
Before you jump there,
sure,
I want to touch on something. Tim Stützle, 3rd pick, Jake Sanderson, 5th pick. And I don't mean to get off because we are going to stay on the Senators. Just real quick, were you shocked that with Detroit having the 4th pick and so desperately needing defense, they didn't touch him?
Absolutely. Totally shocked.
Was
that the Red Wings? I was shocked the Red Wings didn't take a defenseman for sure. Jamie Drysdale was also available. They were the 2 top defensemen in the draft, and the Red Wings bypassed both of them.
Well, I'm not going to ever second guess Steve Yzerman. Apparently, he's kind of got an idea of what he's doing. But not to get off here, but let's get back to the 28th pick in the first round. Ridley Craig and a centerman. What do you got there?
Well, you're going to love it because he plays the same way as one of your favorite players for the Boston Bruins plays.
Don't even say it.
And you know what? Full marks to Dorian. He's got the Bruins in his defenseman, or in his division, and he went and got out a player who plays just like Brad Marchand. He's a little fire plug who gets under your skin, but he has a great amount of skill that goes with that. And, the old saying, you fight fire with fire. And if you want to compete against a Brad Marchand, well, you throw a Brad Marchand type player at him. Maybe one game they'll have a licking contest. Who knows?
I want to bring this up real quick for our fans, too. I should have brought it up earlier. If you have any questions about your favorite team or a subject you'd like us to touch on, reach out. It's puckheadsinsider@gmail.com. We will look at some of your questions and do our best to get them on the show. That's puckheadsinsider@gmail.com. 2019's first round pick, 19th overall, Mr. Thompson. What do you got there?
Lassie Thompson, yes, he was a first-round draft pick. When he was drafted, he was playing for the Kelowna Rockets of the Western Hockey League. And last season, he went back and played in Finland. He is a Finnish-born player. This year, Ottawa has loaned him again to his team in Finland. Obviously, he's not going to be playing junior hockey anywhere around here soon, and so he's developing there, and they're keeping a close eye on him. Right-hand shooting defenseman who has got a tremendous amount of upside. He's 6 feet. He's got a great set of wheels. He can move, and he moves the puck well, and can read the ice extremely well, and knows when to jump in the offense.
You and I talk a lot about these kids that we see maybe making it up. Even late into 2018, did you see this kid? He wasn't on my radar at all, and I'm no scout, but
no. One of the things I unfortunately was not able to see players from the Western Hockey League. One of my former players is an assistant coach out in Kelowna, so he knew him really well. When I talked to him, he gave a great report on him.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go. The next one I want to talk about, his dad was not quite as bad, I want to say, as Brad Marchand, and I just don't like that guy at all. But Brady Tkachuk, his dad was a phenomenal hockey player, and you see some of his dad in the way he plays. Do you see him having that same kind of talent as Papa?
Absolutely. I think he's a tremendous player, and he's one of the cornerstones the Senators are going to build their organization around. You know, him as a forward, Shabbat as a defenseman. They are definitely looking at those two to be the key veterans over the next few years, basically take ownership of that team on the ice.
Two other players real quick. Shane Bowers, Logan Brown.
Logan Brown was the first-round draft pick in the 2016 draft. He's came out of Windsor. I got to see him a lot when he played here. Big boy. He's got a ton of talent, but he may be just a little slow in the feet for the NHL game right now, and he's taking a little while to develop, but the Senators are slowly giving him an opportunity. They're definitely not closing the door on him. They're giving him the opportunity. So we'll see what happens. This will be when the games do start. It'll be a big year for him. I wouldn't be surprised if he starts the season in the American Hockey League, and then partway through the season brought up to the NHL roster and start out, say, as a fourth line center or something like that. Shane Bowers, he was a first-round draft pick in the 2017 draft, but he was part of the deal that brought Matt Duchene, or traded Matt Duchene to Colorado, and he went to the Colorado organization as well in that deal. So, but Shane Bowers has been in the American Hockey League since then as well, so he's not moving up too quick.
He's still not ready.
No, and I think that was a good move. I mean, Colorado wanted him, but I think Pierre Dorian, just a little backstory. Dorian is a excellent judge of players, good scout himself. He gets out, sees a lot of these players, and I think he's got a feel, you know, after a year or two of playing, what a player's going to do, if he's going to make an impact in the NHL or not. And I think that's why he was willing to part with Shane Bowers in that deal.
We touched on him at the beginning of going over the drafts, but did Ottawa see in Thomas Shabbat what Thomas Shabbat is doing?
I think they did. I think he did. He came in kind of like the gunslinger and out of the Quebec Junior League. And he lived up to the billing. He's a tremendous blue liner. I mean, he does it all. He just plays so effortlessly out there. You know, as a young kid, yeah, he still gets burned defensively at times. You know, he moves the puck extremely well. He's learning to read the ice much, much better. And that, you know, that's a big key for a defenseman at the NHL level, because the game moves so fast. It's trying to keep that one or two steps ahead of what the plays, you know, how it's going to develop. And he's coming along great. I mean, they threw him into the fire, and, you know, he's just been sizzling ever since then. So it's a positive move.
More times than not, though, you and I both know these gunslingers and goal scorers and defensemen and studs at the Quebec Major Junior level usually fizzle out pretty quick in the NHL. And him, Mantha's another one. 80 goals in 80 games in his last season, and he was a stud. He is one that is proving to be a quality NHL forward. he's not going to light the world on fire scoring 60 goals a season, obviously. But him and Shabbat both are showing their wares very well.
Yeah. Well, at the NHL level, it's no secret. If I mean, like you said, a lot of gunslingers that come out of the Quebec Junior League. Bottom line, you have to be able to play in all three zones in the NHL. And if you can't do that, they don't have time or space for you on that roster.
Yeah, unless you are scoring 50 goals a season, they might help you learn it a little better. If you're not putting the puck in the net on a regular basis, you're right. They're not going to. Another thing I wanted to touch on, you had said the new stadium was on hold and that Pierre Dorion is a true hockey guy who knows talent. Do you see him helping keeping this team in Ottawa?
I think he's going to do his best. There's no doubt about it. Like I said, he's been a buffer. He's doing his best to run the organization on a shoestring budget. I mean, they already have $12.5 million in cap space available for this upcoming season. Now, they haven't signed Tim Stutzel yet for this season, but even then, it's going to be a rookie contract. So they'll still have over $10 million left to play with. They shed a lot of dollars over the summer when they parted ways. Well, they bought out Bobby Ryan.
I was going to bring that up. He's in Detroit. Has Craig Anderson signed anywhere?
Not yet. Craig Anderson was another one they didn't sign back. Ryan Callahan, Ron Hainsey, Mark Borowicki, and of course, a guy we talked about last week, Anthony Duclair. I mean, so they signed. Nope. And all in all, they released 12 players out of the organization. A lot of the other ones were on NHL and AHL contracts, so they cleared out a lot of players out of that organization.
So of all those guys you just brought up, 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 guys, Bobby Ryan's the only one to sign, and he did it with Detroit. Yep. Craig Anderson still has games left. Anthony Duclair, we talked about him last week.
Yeah.
I mean, there's Scott. I'd like to know about what's going on. And with all your connections, see if you can come up with any answers from anyone about why nobody wants to keep this kid.
Yeah, I mean, it'll be interesting to find out. You're right. Like I said, and I said last week, I don't want to say anything out of school that I can't confirm myself. But there has to be issues that he's played in so many organizations so far at his young age. I think we said he's 25. And he's looking for a job right now. And we all know he can put the puck in the net. He can play the game. He can be a game breaker. I've seen him do that. But he just seems to have trouble sticking with an organization.
Have you heard anything? Maybe does he have a chip on his shoulder? I mean, he fought hard, obviously, just like every player to get there. Is it he's had to prove himself and kind of does it a little overboard, or do you know?
I honestly can't say.
All right, I don't want to. You're right. We don't want to speculate.
What I'm seeing right now. Yeah, and I don't want to get into speculation. That's and rumors of that. There's a lot of other places that do that, and we don't need to get in the rumors. We want to go with the facts.
Exactly. Let's go on now to their affiliate, Belleville Senators, their AHL affiliate, third in the whole league last season. Do you see them bringing any of these guys up for the next season, or with it being such a shortened season, maybe leaving them there to overdevelop a little bit more?
It's quite possible. Logan Brown played down there. Alex Formanton played his first pro season down there. They did great jobs down there. I can see them being part of the process. I think they're going to start the year in the American Hockey League, and they'll see how the NHL roster looks, and I don't think Pierre Dorion will be afraid to move guys down and bring guys up and give them the opportunity. So I think that's what's going to happen. I do like the staff in Ottawa. Troy Mann is a career minor league player, and he's been working his way up through the ranks as a coach. He understands what hard work, dedication, and what it's like to have to try to climb the ladder. And he sees what these guys are going through. And I think the players will respect the fact that he's done it himself. So I think they're going to play hard for him. There's no doubt about that. I'm also a big fan of their assistant coach, Colin Chalk. Ed, you might remember that name from the Fort Wayne Comets glory days.
Yeah.
And
Against the
Colin
Flint
Chalk,
Generals, yeah.
Colin Chalk was the captain of the Comets. I can't say enough about him. Tremendous leader. And he left when he left, he went and started his coaching career with Kalamazoo in the ECHL as an assistant. Then he became the head coach at Brampton, and then he was brought up to be an assistant coach in Belleville. And
wasn't he the captain in 2010 when they won it all? Or,
yep.
Yeah, he was. Okay.
Yeah, he was Captain Comet for sure, and of a very storied franchise, and he's still revered in that town. And a lot of people are follow his career, his coaching career. And like I said, he's destined to become at least an American League head coach in the very near future.
He, what a lot of fans of the game may not understand, when the American League has players called up to the NHL, that means they're losing players. The AHL has to call up players from the ECHL, which is what you just talked about. The Brampton Beast did finish middle of the pack last season. Do we see anybody there maybe getting ready to replace some of the guys that are at some point going up to the NHL?
Oh, absolutely. I think what Brampton does is they try to develop some of the later draft picks of the Senators, and the Senators will sign players on two-way contracts between the AHL and the ECHL. And because not every player on the American Hockey League team, and definitely not every player on the ECHL team, are drafted or contracted players from the Ottawa Senators. You're only allowed 50 contracts for the NHL complete. So whereas the AHL has an unlimited number of contracts, so that's how they'll do it. But there have been many players who have worked their way up through the ECHL ranks into the AHL and then into the NHL. So it's not an uncommon practice.
We are running short on time. A couple of things I definitely want to discuss here. The USHL opening weekend.
Yes, USHL opened their weekend this past weekend. They had for the third season in a row, they had a player score a hat trick in his first game in the league. Obviously, it's a great feat. He's Connor Kurth from the Dubuque Fighting Saints. He's also eligible for the 2021 NHL draft. Unfortunately, like in everything, there were a couple of postponements in the ECHL last weekend. The Tri-City and Des Moines game were postponed.
USHL.
USHL. Yeah. Too many leagues, Ed. We're trying to get them all covered here.
Right.
And the weekend series between Omaha and Waterloo is postponed as well. And just got word today that this weekend, the Chicago Steel were supposed to play the U.S. development team in Plymouth on Friday, and that's been postponed as well. Everybody's trying to adhere by the protocols to be safe and keep away from COVID. We don't know the reasons for all these cancellations or postponements, as they're calling them, but I'm sure that it all has to do with that. And keeping everybody safe is a prime concern for it all.
Big Ten has released their schedule, and we were talking about that briefly last week, and the difference in the collegiate game in America and Canada. What's going on the start date? Games are they going to be November, December, January? Where are they following suit?
Well, they're planning to go with a full season. They announced that actually over a month ago, but it was just a few days ago. They've released a partial schedule for November and December, which encompasses about 8 games. Arizona State, who is not part of the Big Ten yet, will also participate in the Big Ten conference games this year, again, like they did last year. But they've also agreed to follow the protocols that the Big Ten is issued out for the safety of the players and to keep COVID at bay during the season.
Arizona in the Big Ten? Aren't they in the Sun Belt football, and they can play in different conferences at their same school?
Yep, you can do that.
Didn't know that. Wow.
In various sports, yeah. You got teams who are in the Big Ten in football and can be in a different conference in basketball. It happens. And obviously in hockey, well, there's no Sun Belt conference in in NCAA hockey
no.
anyways.
Well, isn't that their football?
Yes, I think it is.
I mean, I don't know. I follow a couple of college teams, but I'm not familiar. I thought that's what it was called. I may be wrong. I'm sure I will be corrected in emails, but we'll get to that. Before we wrap it up, let's talk on a couple of guys. Howie Meeker, 97 years old, 4 Stanley Cups with the Leafs, 47, 48, 49, and 51, Rookie of the Year, and 47, passed away.
He was 97 years old. He lived a good life, and he contributed a lot to hockey, both on the ice and off the ice. He was an innovator as a broadcaster. He was one of the first ones who would actually go on the air and say, that player made a mistake, and he'd point out the player, and he'd point out the mistake. And nowadays, everybody's quick to point out the mistakes. But
he was an innovator because that was not done in the 60s, 70s. And when he came in, and he changed the game, literally.
Yep, exactly. Jim Nielsen also passed away the other day.
Fame, yes.
Yep, New York Rangers. He passed away at 79 years old. He was the first Indigenous player in the NHL. His father was Danish. His mother was Indigenous. Interesting story about him is he grew up in an orphanage starting at 5 years old, learned how to play hockey through there. And he ended up starting with the New York Rangers when he was 21 years old. He then went to the California Seals, and when the Seals moved to Cleveland, played there. And then I guess to say the highlight of his career was his last year in hockey. He went across to the WHA, the World Hockey Association, to the Edmonton Oilers, and he played with his last season. He played with this rookie phenom by the name of Wayne Gretzky.
How cool is that? And Wayne Gretzky said his biggest claim to fame for him was actually getting to skate against Gordie Howe.
Yep. So
what goes around comes around, right?
Absolutely. But Nielsen, he worked his way up the hard way through the ranks, and he played 16 seasons in the NHL and the 1 year in the WHL, and he was an inspiration to a lot of Indigenous people.
Well, that is very cool. One last thing before we go, I do want to remind everybody, puckheadsinsider@gmail.com. Any questions, any topics, anything you'd like us to discuss, we do check our email regular, and we'll be happy to answer your questions on the show as well as via email. We do hope you like the show. Please hit like and subscribe. For Peter South up in Windsor, Ontario, in Canada, me, Ed Combs, here in South Florida, we look forward to talking hockey again with you very soon.